you guys aren't familiar, which I know most of you are, I think pretty much every name I see in here is in the Ethos focused discussion and definitely involved in the ecosystem. But if you're unfamiliar, we have the founder here with us, Serpentax, and he's going to walk us through what Ethos is, what they're building towards, and how it can help you navigate the Wild West of Web3. So without further ado, I'm THC. Serpent, if you want to introduce yourself, maybe tell us, a little bit about yourself or the product, just to kind of get us acquainted, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, hey guys. I've been in Metaverse HQ before, long ago. Interestingly enough, I remember showing up for one of these with Pac-Man when he did the Blast one. So feels weird to be back in this type of setting. If you don't know me, I go by Serpentax on the internet. I run a liquid hedge fund called OX5F Capital, and I co-founded Ethos, which is a credibility and reputation protocol that has been keeping me up late at night for the past 3 days because, fortunately, people are talking about it. Excited to come here and chat with you guys about it today. I like to talk about it, and it's a lot of fun to share some of the stuff that's going on and how I think about it. And I see a lot of you guys who have already been pretty deep on it, so maybe we can have a deeper conversation than just kind of the surface level stuff. I'm excited about that.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That is the intention. So for everybody that's listening, we do have, we'll have potentially some giveaways, but also the opportunity for you guys to ask questions directly. So if you want to drop those in, oh man, I'm so rusty. I almost said voice hangout chat, but should probably use, well, since we're doing this in voice hangout chat, I guess, yeah, if you guys have questions, you can just drop them in voice hangout chat. I'm going to keep an eye on it. And, or I just got a ping from the Ethos channel too. So yeah, if you guys have questions, we'll keep an eye on chat and make sure that we get those answered. Definitely excited to have a much more deeper conversation. Before we get into it, though, I did want to ask. I saw you guys had an office or an AMA in server yesterday, I believe. I didn't get a chance to make it. Like I saw it was live and I joined, but it was just like one guy that was still in the channel keeping it live.
Yeah.
So I was definitely myself because it would have made my job a whole lot easier. But I know you guys are taking very community centric and feedback heavy approach to how you're building and iterating. So I was just curious how that shook out yesterday. If there's anything like big and insightful, impactful that people may have missed, or just how were the vibes yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I like to do weekly calls with people. I think so. I have a background in building Web 2 products. I used to build products that millions of people use. Some of you guys may have even used it before. And I know how important it is to have feedback and your customer at the center of everything that you do. And I also witnessed a lot of Web3 founders who I felt like missed that and didn't really empower their community to have a voice in the equation of what they built or why they built it. And so, yeah, I usually like to do and share. If you're not in the Ethos Discord, I'd encourage you to join because I'm very active in there and appreciate and value all feedback. It's the only way that we can figure out how to prioritize what to build next on our end, to be honest. Yesterday, we were talking a little bit about slashing, which is one of the primitives that we haven't shipped yet, but is upcoming in Ethos and sounds about as scary, or is about as scary as it sounds. And we can talk about it a little more when we get further down the road. But the general concept of someone slashing someone else is you're calling someone out on Ethos and you're saying, hey, this person is a bad actor. But when you do it, you're risking your own social capital by doing it. And if you slash someone without enough evidence or are incorrect and you don't have consensus that all agrees with you, then you lose that social reputation. If you're right, then they do. And so we kind of talked through that. I talked about some of the designs and parameters of it and how we think about it and tried to get some feedback on things. And yeah, I mean, like very much community first approach to it. This is all I think about all the time, probably to the point where it drives my wife nuts. And but that's what I like doing. So continue to bring the feedback.
Love it, dude. And yeah, totally understand the obsessive passion with the project. Definitely, yeah, right there with you. Interesting though about the slashing though, it's a great thing to actually start on. We actually already had a question in chat too, is some input from you just on ways that you plan to avoid like witch hunt type scenarios, like hate mobs, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious though, if slashing, is it possible that people could hate mob and basically just slash somebody, but then coordinate and verify that slash was just when it wasn't? I guess talk to me. What would be the recourse?
Yeah.
You're a victim of a slash and you didn't deserve it. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, we could go into kind of why I don't think that should happen first, and then how there would be recourse if it did. The way that I think about slashing, again, it basically kicks off a 24-hour period where other reputable people then go vote on something. And so let's say that it's something very obvious. Okay, like nothing's that obvious, but like take Dave Portnoy as an example. And maybe you're like, no, this guy is absolutely going to rug this project, and I believe it. And here are like the proof that I have of all the insider wallets where he's selling on those wallets, and he's done it in the past. Someone could slash Dave Portnoy. And the way it would work is it show up on the top of everyone's Ethos screen, and everyone that's a participant in Ethos would have the ability to vote whether they think the slash should happen or it shouldn't happen. And if successful, again, it like really docks someone's score up to like 400 points, which is basically a whole level. And I think that because of the way that we have designed it, where it has to be other reputable people that vote, and all of the stuff is kind of recorded on chain, how you vote, how you think about things, what you comment, how you interpret stuff. I think people will inevitably end up taking it a little bit more seriously than kind of what kind of mob mentality you see on Twitter. And so like right now we do have some mob mentality that happens at times. People jump on someone and review them a whole bunch negatively. And for the most part, I would argue it's been stuff that's more obvious. But the cool thing about like I'll give an example. I'll like have some humility here. I wrote a negative review for Anime Token earlier, and Zagabond called me out on it, rightfully so.
Ooh.
And no one else like jumped in on it. In fact, there were a lot of people, especially people that are reputable, that jumped in and came to Zagabond's back and wrote positively about Anime Coin. And that is the beauty of the product is, well, as much as there could be a mob and someone that like comes after you, well, one, you have to deal with the fact that now everyone knows that you like shit on that team, me right now. And two, you have to be okay with like there are going to be other people that come in and try to counteract it. And so I think in a lot of ways, the entire way that we've thought about Ethos is very much meant to be, yeah, your score can fluctuate over time, but as long as you like, there should be enough fairness in the system such that if you are reputable and most people think you're reputable, people can come back in and vouch for you if you get slashed or write positive reviews. And the most important thing that most people don't understand is your score and someone else's score, they dictate how much impact you have on the system, just like chess and EOO. If you're 2200 score and you review someone that's 1200, it has a way bigger impact than someone that's 1200 reviewing someone that's 1200. And so this weighting model in a lot of ways, I believe, is how we start to prevent some like actual mob mentality, but also giving everyone else the opportunity to have an opinion on it is another important way that I think, handles that problem well.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I guess, is there any concern about like the centralization of power that happens when people accumulate high scores, especially with how the rollout is happening incrementally with invites? So like, for example,
Yeah.
the first 100, right? They're going to amass a lot of reviews and scores and basically be the kingmakers. So I guess, is that by design? I mean, I could, that's an acceptable answer. It's like, yeah, the power will be centralized to them because they're reputable. So I'm just curious
Yeah.
how the thought process there.
No, it's a really good question. And like I would say, yeah, it is kind of to start. Like, the 100 people that were in it, 65 of them invested in Ethos and like through the community. And a lot of them really believed in what we were working on and trusted me and saw the values of it and wanted to participate. And so we kind of started with those people and some other people that were like participating on testnet and stuff. And then, it's really important that we kind of slowly grow, if I'm being honest. Like, if we grow really fastly, then you might get a bunch of shit being slung all over the place. And you might not have the confidence that you could otherwise have in your product because, it's a bunch of randos, like, just throwing shit across the wall. And so it's really important. Like, the best way to think about it is like an L1. If you were going to build your own blockchain, and honestly, a lot of the stuff in Ethos is based on how blockchains work, you would want to be very centralized to start. Like that is the only way. Otherwise, you risk yourself like getting attacked by someone. And as you grow, you have the ability to let other people validate for you or participate. And we're obviously already at like 700 profiles, so there's lots of people validating in theory. But it'd be like if you launched Base, like Base runs all the servers, like no one else runs Base servers, right? It is extremely centralized to start. We aren't that centralized, but it does help us start in the right direction versus having thousands of farmers who are just there to take a dollar, join the product, and write hi to each other every day.
Yeah, love that. Makes a ton of sense. In the future, do you plan to how do you plan to combat like just Cybele, right? Because like the space is full of people with a lot of spare time and a lot of technical know-how. Is that the weighting system, or is there something else you have in mind? Just talk to me about just like the spam, the mass, beyond invites.
No, it's a really important problem. And I think that's where we help a lot of the rest of the space is with, people being able to duplicate themselves thousands or tens of thousands of times. And, to be honest, a lot of the numbers that we see in the space are often spoofed because it's either farmers or people that, have made it look like they're 10,000 people and it's just one person. And so the whole concept of Ethos is like, well, no, you have more incentive to just be one person that manages reputation. You get outsized impact for doing so. But we also have this invitation system that works really, really well for helping to prevent some of these types of problems. And so again, we started with 100 invites. Everyone that started had one invite, and we slowly started to grow from there. The invitation system uses a bonding period. So when you invite someone, you and them have a 90-day bond where if their score goes up, then your score goes up too. But if their score goes down, then so does yours. And that kind of discourages you from, not inviting yourself on 10,000 wallets, because that would be tough to do anyways, because invites are limited. But also it would make it really challenging because someone could figure that out and be like, "Hey, what the hell? Like these two people are just vouching for each other. Like, what? Like it's pretty obvious that like this is someone and someone's alt. Like, and I'm not the one that's at liberty to say like, oh, this is wrong and you shouldn't do that. But we've built the mechanisms in place for people to be able to call that out and say, no, you can't do that. Like, oh, I'm going to slash you or I'm going to write a negative review because I looked at the transaction history and here is proof that you're emulating yourself, and I don't want that, and not me specifically, but that person that decides to slash them. So our invitation system, because it's so limited and because there's no automatic way to get invite, and to be honest, I'm literally doing that shit manually myself right now. There's definitely the possibility that someone is themselves on the same account between two people, but the likelihood of it is like 99.9% lower than anywhere else in the space.
Fair. Yeah. Thank you. That's great color and context too. I didn't realize about the bond, the invite bond. I think that's pretty fascinating. I might have learned something about myself. Maybe. I mean, I was active in testnet and I've been begging and simping for an invite code and have not got one. So maybe people just think I'm going to have a negative score and they don't want their score to go down. That's probably a whole nother conversation, existential maybe. I guess one more piece of context, just because I'm not in the platform, so I don't know. Are you able to review people that haven't accepted an invite? They aren't members on the platform.
Yeah,
Are you
absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, if you give me access to stream in this channel, I can share and demo as we're talking.
Fuck yeah. You should be able to. Is it telling you that you can't?
It says
I'm not aware of
this channel. Yeah.
What? That's weird.
It happens when I go to different. Oh, now I can.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Didn't touch anything. All right.
Cool.
Oh, thanks for the perms. Beautiful.
For some reason, we keep losing the HQ member role for some reason on your tax. So if that keeps happening,
well, maybe if I'll just keep streaming it, then it doesn't get rid of me. Okay, you guys.
If everyone could direct their attention. Just load it up. So if I could direct everybody's attention to the stream that is happening now in Voice Hangout chat. Serpent's going to walk us through a little bit.
Yeah. So what I was going to show. What were we talking about? You had a good question. Oh, if
a non-member.
Yeah. Yeah, so like a lot of these are actually people that aren't on. So this is just a feed of everything. I have it sorted by new right now. So these are reviews that are happening in real time here. And like someone reviewed Safe because of the Bybit stuff. And Safe obviously does not have an account. You can see up here, there's like this little thing that tells you they need an invite, they don't have a profile. And when you scroll down here, you can see, you can actually even see their score is kind of tanking in the background here. People are a little bit upset with him. And, I was one of the supporters. I love Safe, but this was 2 days ago, damn it. Like, I don't know the info that came out today. And so, yeah, anyways, like people are negatively reviewing or positively reviewing. You can even vouch for people that haven't joined Ethos yet. And so that's one of the cool things about it is like everyone is a participant, whether you know it or not. I'll give another example, like Kook Capital, he's got two of them now. I guess this is a misspelled one. But yeah, like people have reviewed him and called him out on things. Yeah. I don't. Not saying that the score is accurate or not. I did have my own personal opinion on Kook that I shared here. But you can see here he has 46 reviews, all of which are negative. So anyways, like this is why it can be helpful is because it's probably unlikely that Kook would ever sign up for Ethos, to be honest. And so, yeah, you can review anyone and anything. I saw people like reviewing Final Fantasy the other day or something random. If it's on Twitter, it's reviewable.
Okay, man, that was great context. Opens up a ton of more questions for you. I'm going to try and stay organized and on track here. First follow-up question to that would be, what recourse does someone have if they're getting, or maybe none is the answer, but I'm curious if I'm that guy that you just showed and I do find out one day that I've got 50 negative reviews that are telling me to burn in hell. What recourse do I have to try and rectify that other than just my actions in real life? Like, is there anything that could expedite them to get into the platform or anything like that? Or is it
it is. It's a little bit tough because who's going to invite Kook at this point? That part doesn't really matter because anyone who's existing on the platform could still go review him. And if you truly believed that he was someone that, was worth defending, you could easily go review them. In fact, I won't actually, but I can show you what it looks like. I can go write this positive review and be like, you guys are all wrong. He's awesome. And write this positive review. Oh, for some reason, it still drops this thing. I don't know what this has to be a current bug that we have. But it should actually increase his score. It'll be pretty sad if... Yeah, -6.
Okay, well, continue this exact thought experiment here. If you dropped that positive review and said he's great, you're now the one green review in a sea of angry people.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a knock-on effect where you would be targeted by people perhaps, or do you think there's any sort of...
Yeah, it could. It's always possible, right? I think the thing is, like, the further you go down that route of like the slippery slope, like the less likely people are going to be willing to do that. I mean, it's obvious that to me, I know people that like Kook and they haven't written a positive review for him. And so it's obvious to me that it's like the social implication more so than the like... It's like they're like, hey, why do you wrote a positive review for this guy? Why did you do that? And instead of like, oh, I did write a positive review and I'm really worried about all these other people reviewing me. Like, I don't know that will ever happen, to be honest. But it could. Like, that's what's interesting about the product is it will do anything, right? It's very non-prescriptive in terms of how it works with anyone being able to leave a review for anyone else.
Yeah, for sure. And yes, and apologies if any of these questions are obvious or
no,
something that, because some things I might challenge might be a product of the exact system you made, but it's just it's a cool novel concept, so I'm still trying to get my footing. It's like Yelp for people, right? But when you leave a review at a shitty restaurant, you say this place sucks, I'm never coming back. You just never go back, right? Whereas these are real people and you're reviewing them and you're still in the same space as them, maybe not super close proximity, but just curious about the sort of just mob psychology and stuff like that, just if people would be an echo chamber, essentially. I mean, it kind of happened to Reddit, right? Where it's like, people will downvote you just because they disagree with your opinion. It has nothing to do with like the merit of what you said. So it's like, it just kind of became this echo chamber where, only the same stuff rises to the top. Like, are there any fears or mitigations for that?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a possibility with what we've built. Like, it's very possible that, you get this echo chamber of the way people think, and then it ends up being not fair. And I don't know exactly how to solve for that other than making and ensuring that the population of participants is like random enough or fair enough across, people who maybe more care about what their credibility is to people who don't give a shit but can see Kook at face value for being a funny guy, or like what's Dave's handle, Stool Presidente or something. Is that right? Yeah, there he is.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he had 83, but I think he has one neutral review in here besides the Ethos agent saving stuff. I think someone was like, it's fine. Just see him at face value for what he is. He's not actually extracting. Yeah. Someone left, neutral in here. And so like, I don't know that I definitely have an answer for how do you prevent the group think. That's just something we're going to have to learn in time as we start observing it and seeing if it's actually giving incorrect results. Like, it's really hard to be credibly neutral, but as like a system designer and what we're trying to do, that is absolutely our goal. And so like, whether or not I agree with Dave Portnoy and what he does, like, we need to make sure that the consensus of like how most of crypto thinks is represented on Ethos, not just whatever everyone that has access to Ethos thinks.
I love that, dude. Yeah, great answer. Yeah, I love the transparency and honesty there. It's like, yeah, I can't control that, bro, but we can try and build. Yeah, totally fair. One last question that is in this similar vein, but like the opposite, because we've been focusing on sort of like hate mob and negative and dogpiling. What about the opposite, right? Where, just 3-3 mentality, where everyone wants to scratch each other's back and just exchange positive views, reviews. Does that, is that a problem, or is that kind of just expected behavior? What are your thoughts on that?
I personally think 3-3 is great. It is very easy in crypto because it has been weaponized in a lot of ways, of this way of like forcing you to hold something you don't want to hold. And 3-3 in reality is the concept that if two people cooperate, then they have more to gain than one person or both people and accidentally, doing like hating each other. So two people that do something that's positive that both people agree at is a net positive. And so the way that we have what you might call 3-3 in our product is when you vouch for someone, you're putting money against their name. It's kind of like a it's like a staking mechanism. You stake money and they earn credibility score with that staked ETH. And as they do that, they could also return the vouch, what we call reciprocated vouchers. And in this account, I don't have any because it's just the agent. Yeah, no one's vouched for me. Oh, no, I vouched for me. Yeah, there you go. A couple people did. You'll see this like reciprocated here. And what happens when it's reciprocated is you actually earn more credibility score at a faster rate than if two people are basically saying, yeah, I trust this guy. And the other guy's like, yeah, I trust this guy too. We give you more credibility score and we give you more XP, which is kind of like our point system. And I still think that's a really net positive, right? If two people trust each other so much so that they would stake ETH against each other, then like that's a win. You're helping other people understand who's trustworthy and who's not. And so that's kind of how we think about 3-3. And like there's no like in normal 3-3, like whoever sells first wins. And if you are caught holding the bag, then you lose and you hate it and it sucks. And so like our concept is like, with staking ETH, there's not really financial loss. And if you need to take your money out, then yeah, you just don't earn as much credibility score over time.
Interesting. Yeah, this is fascinating, man. I mean, just as a crypto native, like I approach most projects and ecosystems in like I don't want to say cynical view, but like when I think of 3-3, I think of people that are essentially like basically skirting the system, right? It's just like a handshake agreement. Like, hey, they want us to do this. We're actually going to do this. Or we agreed. Okay, let's do it. But it's interesting with this because, I mean, the core concept of trustability, right? Is like, okay, well, you trusted them enough to do this 3-3. So it's not a negative. It's a positive. I love that, man. That's a very interesting take.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, like we tried to take all of the concepts that we saw that worked in friend tech that were helping people understand who was trustworthy and who wasn't, and bring them over without the like significant financial loss and make them a lot more oriented around proving credibility or reputation.
I love that. I love that they're not earning ETH either. They're earning reputation, just because
Hmm.
then people would just want to farm. So it's brilliant.
Right.
All right, we're at the halfway mark here. I'm going to take a brief intermission, just call out some of these questions in chat, and then also wanted to announce here, Serpent has blessed us with a handful of invites for Ethos. So if you're on the sidelines like myself, then pop in here and ask some questions because we're gonna reward people that are engaging here. So a couple names: G6, Ezrin. If you guys need an invite, DM Poppy or DM me. Either way, we'll get you connected. But love the questions. I'm gonna go ahead and read off some of these here. So G6 asks, can there be an option to add UI to combine a vouch/review into one write-up when choosing to vouch for someone? What would be the rationale if not?
Yeah, I mean, the only rationale is prioritization of things in our backlog. It is a very good
Bandwidth, yeah.
question. Yeah, it's a very good question. I've heard it a lot, and this is again why I think it's so important that we have this avenue to talk with our customers. Is like what? Yeah. Oh, wait, not my profile. If I go back to like myself on this account, if I go to vouch for myself, or imagine this is someone else, then a lot of problems people have is they're like, yes, he's amazing. I love him, and they put one ETH in or whatever, and then what happens is like the you want to also give him a review at the same time, and so we kind of need a way that's like, how do you combine these two concepts so that you can give them the most amount of impact possible? And I've seen a lot of people that are like leave stuff that's like it's like see review whenever they write the vouch or whatever. So very good question and point of feedback. And yeah, like making your life easier is something that I care about tremendously. So it's on our mind. I think we'll probably put it in our design backlog here in the next couple of days.
Love that. Thank you. Next question: is there a plan to allow people to upload evidence for things? I think that's pretty good. You use the word obvious to describe some of these phenomena. So if you had a screenshot that showed some of this, I mean, hell, the
Yeah.
evidence is right there. So thoughts?
The we started with just simple ways to write kind of text, and we want to be able to do on-chain images eventually too as a really simple one. There is a workaround if you ever this is like gonna date me and say like to go back to 2006. Like
Bro, you
if
said Ventrilo earlier. You have
yeah,
nothing to
I
worry
know,
about.
I know. You could actually go take a like an image and upload it to Imgur or Imgur or whatever you want to call it, and then keep like add it as a link in the message if you really wanted to. So like I think we'll get to a point in the future where you can natively upload those things, but you can always do things like link tweets or link images that you upload somewhere. They won't like look natural. You have to actually click in it to see. Evidence is one thing that I have thought about a lot, and we actually almost built it from the beginning. But it's one of those things where, like, when you're building, you really want to try to optimize for like the core use cases, and then let your customer kind of guide you to like, oh, they want to upload images. Okay, I guess we can go build that now. So that's the only reason that either of the last two really good questions haven't been built.
Cool, awesome. And then Mr. Jacobig had a follow-up question on the vouch review sort of combining thing. He's just
Mhm.
asking if there's any negative impact to copying, pasting what you say
Oh
in your
no, I don't
vouch
think
as a
so.
review. Okay, perfect,
Yeah,
perfect.
I
I
mean,
assume not because you're saying like, yeah. Okay, you go ahead.
no, all I was going to say is like, no, but remember that we have mechanisms in place that anyone, it's not my decision, right? Like if other people like, I
Yeah.
fucking hate when that guy does that, like they could go review you or they could go slash you, right? Or they downvote you a whole bunch. Like it's not for me to say, although I don't think that's a big deal at all.
Wow, that's an interesting dynamic there. Is just sort of surrendering of some control, yielding of some control over it. It's like, yeah, you've
Hmm.
opened this up to everybody. You're not driving this train anymore. That's
Right.
interesting.
That's the goal, right? Like I want to get to a point where it is fully permissionless and like we don't really actually have control over. I mean, we don't. Like if you write a review, it's going to show up on chain no matter what. And right now we have no way of even hiding that. And I don't view us as moderation of that content. I view the content as being moderated collectively by everyone.
I like that. I like that. Let's see. Next question. This one's hot off the presses. Literally just press enter. JJ's asking, any plans on possibly fragmenting credibility into different ways down the line? Could see something like badges on the extension, such as trusted NFT content creator or base dev, etc.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do, and we're thinking about pretty thoroughly, and would love some feedback on this idea of categorization of accounts. A lot of people do want right now the ability to be like, hey, yeah, like base dev, right? Like I want to leave a tag that's base dev or something, and then you can go back and you look and you see like, oh yeah, he's a base dev. That's how people categorized him. And I think that's interesting, but it does require more thought and input. And I really do want it to be as simple as possible for people to leave reviews. And so we might look at ways to more automatically do that, to be honest. But also, I really want to do it on our own, where like instead of it being a part of a review, it's like a part of an account. And you might say like, okay, this account has these 3 attributes underneath it. It's like founder, base dev, and trench warfare. And the idea is like you could actually upvote and downvote those things, and maybe there's a long tail of them too. And it would allow people to kind of like have consensus around what type of category that person is. The problem is if you let anyone write any category, then it can get really nasty and not that helpful. And so the way that we've kind of thought about it to start is like, well, what if we had categories that just like us as Ethos seeded and said like, maybe not base dev or that deep, but something like, okay, they're like a trader or a hedge fund, or like if you go look at like our leaderboard right now, it's mostly just actual people on the list, right? But you have NFT projects as an example, and I don't know why this is taking forever to load. Probably some shitty code I wrote, to be honest. Like we we would have like categories. Wow, this is really slow. That really must have been code that I wrote. Okay, like an example of like ZachXBT might be like a security researcher, and we put him as a security researcher on here. And then what you could imagine having is leaderboards for those different categories. And I think that would be really, really interesting, because then you could have like, influencers, builders, but you could also have like angel investors. What is the credibility of an angel investor in this space? Communities. What is the like? What do people think about Metaverse HQ's Twitter account? And then putting them all kind of on a leaderboard. And I'm a strong believer that like that type of competition is a really good way to get people to care about their reputation. And I think will be another like something that we're thinking about right now as a way to make the leaderboard a little bit more fun and yeah, it would basically be built on this idea of accounts having it'd be the first introduction of accounts having some sort of tagging system.
I love that. Yeah, phenomenal answer and great question from it looked like the number 14th most credible person on the platform.
Yeah, JJ's
thank
been
you for that question.
yeah. Yeah, I mean JJ and Jake have both been all over Ethos so far.
Yeah, seeing a lot of names on there. One thing you just mentioned though is rating MVHQ's community, and then the sort of tack on the end is Twitter account. So I'm curious if there's obviously this is built as a layer on top of Twitter, but is there any plan to expand beyond? Or what about like a DAO or like a multi-sig or some sort of situation where it's not one account? Like any plans, or is this kind of just MVP? We're just making Twitter first and figured out the rest later if needed.
Yeah, I mean Twitter first right now, but what is the Metaverse HQ handle?
It's Metaverse _ HQ. I think.
Cool.
So I should know.
There you go.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, see, it's kind of cool. Like, I mean, you don't even really have to like change your way of thinking because it is just a Twitter account that represents something. And you got some like awesome comments in here, right? We do have the ability for you to review addresses too. So if you had I could just like look at Buzz's profile, and if he has an address, everyone has an address associated with them. I could actually go up here and type his address and it will pull it up. But if I like changed one number, well, I don't know if it will work or not. Like if I do this and change one number, yeah, no, there's no address that we've ever found with that. If I do like vitalik.eth, it should show up. Yeah, so this is his ENS that's showing up, not his actual
Got it.
Twitter
Okay.
profile. And like, so we view ourselves as kind of an identity aggregator. And I think, once you create your account, you kind of bring those identities together. But you could imagine like a GitHub, like, one day you could review like a GitHub profile of someone, or, and then you could bring all those things together for yourself. But yeah, when you write a review, if you actually look at like the data on chain, like, let me just show you the transaction here. You go to the logs. Oh God, it's so messy with account abstraction. Well, I'm not going to find it because I'm not smart enough. Maybe it's decoded. No, anyways, like in the log somewhere, like this actual text is stored there, and that's it. And so like it is fully on chain in the sense that anyone could go see it and extend it. And all you really have to do is say like, okay, instead of reviewing this Twitter profile, I'm going to review this GitHub profile. And
Love
it's up to
that.
us to like, resolve those things. But for the most part, yeah, it's very extensible.
That's awesome. Yeah, appreciate that extra color there. One other question I had, I did poke around in the Discord a little bit. I saw the dev chat, and I saw that you did share like some APIs, just very
Mm-hmm.
generously sharing the API. So
Yeah.
I'm excited and curious, and it's had my gears turning, man. let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
because the concept is so simple and pure that it could go so many directions, right? So the first
Yeah.
thing that I was just, if there's a way to use Ethos, integrate Ethos scores into who qualifies for airdrops or
Yep.
whitelists, or just like, you're in a
100%.
project. Right? It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I was going to see just if you could talk to me a bit about that as far as the interoperability or just dev side and building out just, how this can expand and improve the space in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to make the API as extensible as possible, and our belief is bringing those ethos scores everywhere. And whether that's like on Twitter, where we have our Chrome extension, where whenever you load it, you can actually see what someone's score is. This person has 1,200 and doesn't have any reviews, or this person has 2 reviews that are 100% positive. Like we want to bring those here and have with our Chrome extension. And all we're doing is calling an API that says like, okay, this Twitter account, what is their what's their ethos score? Same thing here. Like as an example, we have AIXBT here who has an ethos score. It's currently neutral, and you can come see how many reviews does he have, how much ETH does he have vouched against him, and what his actual score is. So like, it was really easy for us to make these integrations and bring our score to other places. And what the hope is like, because we've made that API so easy, and let me just quickly go grab one of the APIs. Let's see. I have it here. I'll show you if you're into it. You can hit one of these APIs like this and actually just like replace this with whatever Twitter name you want, and you can see exactly what their score is. And so my dream is not only that we have the ability to go and help other people understand and bring these scores into their products, but I can go to someone else and say like, hey, you want to do an airdrop to like reputable people? Well, here's our leaderboard that has a bunch of reputable people that, people are vouching for, that people believe in, that, are trying to be quantifiably and objectively reputable. And I think that comes into play a lot with projects, because right now it's incredibly hard to separate some of the signal from noise in terms of who's who and who trusts who. And so my hope is that this score, this really like simple way of just categorizing and orienting objective information about how reputable someone is something that we can take and create value for you with.
I love that. Yeah, and just personal note, my take, the badges you mentioned earlier, base dev, etc. I think those might
Mm-hmm.
even have more value, especially when like approaching,
Yeah.
like, I want this bucket of this many people. It's like, well, who am I targeting? Like, oh, the base devs. That seems
Right. Yeah,
perfect.
totally.
Okay, beautiful. Let's see. I think we had another question. Okay, I've got a question from chat here, and apologies. As soon as I finish this question, I'm going to sprint to go get another headset because it's doing the low battery beeping thing. Apologies there, but I know the best time for that too is right now. But Gladiator asked, if a group of people start rating your Twitter account with negative reviews just out of spite or kind of target you for fun, even though you don't know them or anything, can it somehow be stopped? Because a group of people can destroy your rep for fun itself. I know we talked about this earlier, disputing the slashes. I guess this would be more so just like reviews en masse. And I know that it's like, you aren't necessarily driving the train anymore. We established that, and this is almost just like somebody's getting bullied, right? How do we stop the bullies?
Yeah, and so like what's interesting about Ethos is we don't have a way to stop that. I really believe that a lot of it has to do with kind of how the community self-moderates, and if people go out there and write a bunch of negative reviews, it's on anyone else on Ethos to either go downvote those reviews or write negative reviews back to those people or write positive reviews for the person that's underrated. And what I'd like to think is that self-moderation and the fact that everything is inherently on chain prevents people from doing things that they shouldn't be writing, and makes them more thoughtful. And again, I wrote a couple of things about Zagabond and Anime Coin, and I already have some regret about doing it. I wrote it a few weeks ago before Ethos was taking off and was very critical of them. And I got called out today, and you're like, yeah, maybe I won't write negative reviews for someone like that anymore. Maybe I'll try to be more neutral, or just don't say anything at all. And so the bullying is something that will inevitably happen. But I believe the idea is that we have all of the mechanisms in place to support people to self-correct that through Ethos. And, again, similar to Reddit, allow people to upvote, downvote content. But the major difference here is this is your one reputation. So if you only get one invite to Ethos, and if you get banned or get a shitty, you can't get banned. If you get a shitty score and you're like, I'll just re-roll, you can't, because you got to get someone to invite you again. And they'll be like, why are you using this other alt account? What happened to your main score? And it kind of helps self-select a lot of stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. It's still more of a theory. We haven't really seen that play out yet.
Yeah, man. First of all, I love you, man. I love your approach and how you're thinking through this stuff. I'm worried you might be a little smidge too positively optimistic about the people in this space. I mean, I know that's what the whole product is trying to curate and help with. I think maybe eventually the platform might benefit from some sort of additional incentive, because just people need something to mobilize them to do. So maybe some sort of bounty or policing system where it's if you can show where somebody's targeting somebody and just out of pocket, then you get maybe a little boost in your reputation or a little lump sum, something like that. But just so that you don't have to police it as the overseeing, all-knowing sort of cop, but people can self-police. But they probably do need a little incentive for it, though, I would imagine. But maybe I'm just too cynical on people. That could be the case too.
No, I mean this is a good example of where we've seen it, and this is why we can't scale immediately, because I have to be able to observe and make sure things are working correctly. But if you look at this, Riseng wrote her opinion on it, left a bunch of comments that were actually pretty insightful. You got to see how people voted for those comments. Most people don't know you can actually see who upvoted or what percentage, what signal this was. 52 upvotes and 10 downvotes on this one. And this guy wrote a negative review too. And then you have people today, someone 17 minutes ago vouching for him, right? Someone being no, look, you guys are wrong. And so then you look at his score, and it's in the background here, this card, it went down a little bit, but now he's back up on the up and up. And, right now, at least, this is the review that shows up, this negative one. It seems more clear that he's kind of controversial than anything else. And that's what I really want to make observable. And it's cool to see that other people have come in and even vouched 0.1 ETH against his name. And they're no, I like this guy. I think he's cool. And maybe it does turn into mob mentality. And then Riseng goes and writes a negative review for Carlitos Way or something. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. I'd like to think that people take things pretty seriously, and even if you wrote something someone was a pledge breaker and they sold a bunch of money, then maybe they're not a bad actor and people disagree with that. Apparently they don't right now, but again, it will be very interesting to see how some of these things play out over time.
Yeah, well said. I think the fear that pops into most people's head first is that, so this example, right? You we'll say fudded. You were critical of Anime Coin, and you gave your thoughts, and people had their thoughts in response. I think the fear is that people might target people without substance or something that is a lot harder to prove.
Right.
Just for example, I've been impersonated before, where people were sending fake links or scam links to people, and that screenshot has been sent to me in a social engineering effort. And I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of here. But I could see where if somebody got a hold of that screenshot and they say, hey, THC's out here scamming people, fucking sending fake links, and all of a sudden I get 20 reviews that just say scam links. It's like, fuck, who could vouch? Who could, you know what I mean? So like, I think that's what you're worried about.
And
if
you turn it around, right, then people could then go delete it. If you're like, no, that wasn't me. Like those people could still go remove those Ethos reviews. So that you don't have as much negative impact. I like to think of slashing as being something, because it takes time. It allows time to progress and like the true story to come out. And like the biggest thing you want to avoid with mob mentality is like overreacting at a very specific point in time, and time is your only ally there. And so like I'd like to think that people will kind of defer to that over kind of a bunch of negative reviews, but that's just, again, some of the things that we have to go figure out and make sure that we're adapting to as it happens.
I love that. Yeah. And the final little point to what I was getting at is there's could be a reality in the future where people do it with malice, with malicious intent. Like they're confused and think that I was scamming people. They're just a coordinated effort. They're like, we're going to smear this guy. But I will say your invite system and the bonding that it happens with that does definitely add some friction to the process. I guess this would only be relevant in a future where it's just open access and anyone can just create an account.
I don't know that we'll ever get to that point. Like people keep asking me, like, when is it going to be public? And I'm like, I don't think it will be public, because it requires, if anything, it would have to be like you have to be on the platform for 90 days and then it generates an invite if you stay reputable, kind of thing. Because I think it would be just too easy to spin things up. And the other thing
with hidden metrics too, because if you tell people the parameters, then they'll spin up 50 accounts to meet those.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that people don't realize is like, there's a world where like whenever we're looking at someone's profile, like if you did see someone that was, no one that is on I don't think anyone's questionable that's participating right now, but let's say that like Dave Portnoy was Stool Presidente. If he was actually commenting on stuff, we would actually probably hide his stuff from showing up at all on Ethos. If he went and wrote a review for someone else, this is like a spam filter, basically. It would be like you like go down to the bottom and it's like, do you want to read 7 other reviews from unreputable people?
Idiots.
Yeah, basically. Okay. And so like that is another way, like if you take your account and you blow it up by writing a bunch of negative reviews for someone, then it just doesn't even show up anymore. And it, that's the like self-moderation part. And that's how I think we kind of help self-police. And I think you're right that there are better ways that we could eventually one day extend that, make it more incentivized, the kind of moderation components.
It's just so interesting. It goes against just like how my brain is wired, because my first thought is like, oh, someone has a low score and they reply, so they're hidden, like almost like the show spam button in Twitter replies, like, oh my god, you're gonna censor them because they have a low score. And I'm like, wait, that's the fucking point. Like it's exactly. Like this is the repercussion of your actions. So yeah, it's just such a mind fuck. Just talking through this stuff and just like removing all the wiring and rewriting how my brain is working through this stuff. Okay, we got 6 minutes left. I have to at least try. Okay, it's my job. I got to try. Feel free to shoot me down, but I'm curious if there are any plans for like an Ethos token in the future, or if that would control governance or some other utility on the platform. Has there been any talks of token, or am I getting ahead of myself?
That's what everyone wants to know, and there are only so many things that you can say with how you're thinking about the future of your business as a US-based company. Right now, we have the idea of XP, which is, I'm just saying, We were before abstract with using XP. We've been around in testnet for a while. Damn it! But
I'm going to drop it in a review right now. Shots fired.
XP is like contributor XP. And the way that I think about contributor XP is you're getting rewarded for having an opinion, sharing that opinion, and helping us understand who's trustworthy and who isn't trustworthy. And you're basically creating value by doing that. You are validating the social layer, just like whenever you stake ETH and in Ethereum, you are validating transactions as they happen. And so if you want to think about, a faux economic model that could exist on Ethos, I think we have the right pieces in place there. And right now we are just learning as much as we can from something like XP, because it allows us to change the incentive mechanism, incentive design early on. There's some things that aren't very well said, like if two people enter a 3-3 with each other and vouch for each other, they earn double the XP every day. That's huge, right? Like if you want XP, that's a really good way to do it. If you think XP is cool because you want to put it on your profile like Reddit Karma, then like that's the way to do it. But you're actually creating value for other people and understanding who's trustworthy or not. That will come into play even more with slashing. And so I would look at XP at face value for exactly what it is right now. It's just XP. But think about how these things could be used in the future, and you might get your answer out of that.
Love that. Yeah, we love reading between the lines here. We are specialists in it. One quick question here, if you could be brief, because I do have another one I want to hit after this, and I want to respect your time and be out at the top of the hour if that's what you want. Ezra asked, quick question isolated to him. He had a testnet where he had reviews, the same Twitter, but a different wallet. He couldn't get the import to work from testnet. It's not showing up. Is that a bug, or is it even worth it?
Oh, yeah. You can, if you do the testnet thing, I'll show it super quickly. The way that it should work is you have to go type in your own account up here. So like it's your handle. In my case, I do OX5F ETH. And I can actually just click transfer and go boom, 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 boom down as fast as you want. And it will, you can actually do this even for not yourself if you really wanted to, but it will keep track of what you transferred and what you didn't. If you're having issues with this and it's not working for you, you can feel free to open a ticket and support channel and I'll help you out, but it should be working. It's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of confusing because you have to remember to come in here and type in your Twitter username up here or your address.
Beautiful. Thank you for touching on that. Okay, and then I have two questions. So let me first hit you with this. Just in general, something I like to ask is just where you see Ethos in the next couple years, right? Like what is a goal that you guys are striving towards? How could you envision it in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I want Ethos scores to be everywhere, right? I want the next time that you tell your buddy to go get into space and like come join Metaverse HQ and let's trade some fucking shitcoins together. You're like, go download the Ethos extension first, though. Like, know who to trust and who to avoid when you're reading Twitter. And I think making that kind of a driving force in terms of how people think about each other or how people get opportunities in the space because they have a high score, or just preventing the $9 billion a year of extraction that happens because people either, slow rug pull, or they create things and never do it, or they actually legitimately scam people. Like, there's so many different ways that people rug today and take people's money. How do we get to a point where we can like defend that? Could we half that number? Could you like remove 90% of it? And at the end of the day, I want to get to a point where people are really thinking about crypto and like, you and I and anyone else here isn't like embarrassed to tell, their buddies like, yeah, I'm in crypto. I work in crypto. I do it every day, because the current belief on crypto is like, it's just full of scam and fraud. Like, we want to get to a point where we're proud of it. It's a modern society that can operate in the, best possible ways that are built on top of reputation and build us better opportunity. Like, that is really the strong vision and not very pragmatic, very theoretical, but where I think I hope to see Ethos in a couple of years.
Very strong answer, dude. Love that. Heck yeah. And then last one, potentially to bring us home here. Of course, now everyone is typing in chat. Hopefully those. Okay, well, here's a question. All right, Jake's gonna supersede my question here. Any plans to expand Ethos market product? I love the idea of betting on reputation.
Yeah, Ethos Markets is really fun. It's a product. I just pull it up here. It's a product where you can buy and sell people's reputation and trust. So you can have an example here of like Zeneca, who has reputation over time. Sorry, the idea is basically you buy trust or buy distrust. Man, we did this at the final minute, and it's a whole other product. And the concept is like you can come in here and like put like 1 ETH in Zeneca, and it boosts his trust score up. Or if you bought like 10 ETH, it boosts it up even more. And what's fascinating about this is it is another way to kind of add a trust signal. But if you were like, oh no, I don't trust Zeneca at all, I think he's overvalued right now, kind of like a prediction market, you actually could come in here and lower his score by buying 10 ETH of distrust and eventually get to the point where you can earn profits on it. And what I would say about market so far is there's not a lot of liquidity or people really playing it, to be honest. Not nearly as much as I wanted there to be. But it is a way to get active with Ethos now and play around with it and get some exposure. You can earn XP here too. AIXPT was probably the most interesting one that we've had so far.
Love that. Yeah, great explanation. The second half of his question was just pointing out that there's very little volatility on individual markets after the release, which they make sense. You're basically predicting if they're going to have like a massive distrust or trust gaining moment, which doesn't seem likely for 364 days of the year. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
anyway,
I feel like
the volatility.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bonding curve, so we had to make a decision on how volatile to make them. And the reality is there's just not a lot of actual market cap in them yet. Once someone actually was trading with a little bit more, then it would probably swing it a lot more. If we had more liquidity basically in them. And so I've been trying to find ways to get some more liquidity pumped into these. I think, as Ethos grows, there will be more interest in stuff like this because I think people actually really do want to be able to trade on things like trust and be able to say like, oh, and in fact, like there is a really good example here. This is when AIXBT suddenly went from like trustworthy to like, wait a second, he's like tweeting bullshit on the timeline that doesn't align, and so people started dumping his trust, or they started buying distrust. And yeah, we are still building this product out. It just, I think, will end up being it'll grow a lot more because Ethos Network grows and people want to have the speculative betting side of reputation.
I love that, dude. Yeah, great call. Okay, final thing, just to kind of bring us home here is the note that I wanted to end on. We pride ourselves in just being just this diverse community, but we're all here every day, right? Like trenchers, builders, just the whole gambit of Web3. And we'd love to, get more involved. So I guess talk to us about, outside of trying to secure an invite, what are the ways that we can get involved with Ethos in order to help, better the space and help build this product out? So tell the people how they can get involved.
Yeah, I mean, first off, install the Chrome extension. I think it's helpful. I genuinely think most people think it's helpful. It is a way to sort the signal, and you get 100 XP even if you don't have an account a day for having it installed, so it's free. If you want to participate in the more degen stuff, Ethos Markets does not require an invite. Anyone can participate in Ethos Markets and get value out of that. And then the other way I would say is like join our community and participate. Like if you think it's interesting and you're observing stuff, like it doesn't go like I see all of that stuff for sure, and I think that's a pretty good way. To get another, even if it's not me, another person in our community thinking about you and considering sending an invite to you. I think those are kind of the main ways right now, but I think, you guys and, the invites I've given this group, I would also be thinking about ways that when you do get invited, either if you get more invites, inviting more people from this community, but also like go write some reviews and vouch for people that are in here. Like, I don't know all of you guys. I know quite a few of you, but like, it's actually really insightful to see things that happen within like a home Discord group like Metaverse HQ and make that and allow that to kind of surface outside of the community and lift each other up. I think that is probably the best way once you actually get access to kind of get the most value out of it and help other people see things that they otherwise wouldn't have insight into in terms of how trustworthy you all are.
Heck yeah. Awesome, man. Love that. Well, Serpent, definitely appreciate your time, man. Welcome back in MPHQ as well, and I see you back in. But yeah, we appreciate the invites, the alpha, letting us pick away at your brain a little bit here. We're definitely keeping a close eye, as you can tell, on Ethos, participating and stuff. So we'll be cheering you on and keeping a close eye. And we'd love to have you back in the future if there's major developments, or if you just want to now that we're all kind of up to speed, maybe we could have just more product features type discussion. But love 100%. The conversation, man. Super insightful, and just wanted to thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me, and thanks for listening. And always, I'm very reachable. If you ever have feedback or thoughts, please just let me know.
Heck yeah, man. You get a vouch from me. All right. We'll go ahead and end it there. Like it. Thanks everybody that tuned in. If you guys did drop a question, we do have a list of all the names of people that were asking questions. Just reach out to myself or Poppy and we'll get you set up with an invite. But yeah, Serpent, thanks again, man. And have a fantastic night.
Thanks, you guys, as well.